Welcome back. Episode 21, Behind the Gate, Greensboro-based podcast. As y'all know, I'm your host, Andrew. Today, we've got a new friend of mine, Mr. Phoenix over here. I'm going to let him share a little bit about his path in life, how he got there. And this is new to me, so I'm really curious to learn about how he approaches these things. And so I think you guys will like it too. Phoenix, thanks for being here with us. Greatly appreciate your time. Let's dive right into it. Kind of tell us about your story, your background, and kind of how you got where you're at now.
Okay. I think when I was a kid, I tended to live in a bit of a fantasy world and had a hard time sometimes adjusting to the world around me. But that also gave me a really rich sense of creativity and an interaction with nature and bugs and stuff like that. And I was also one of those people that the other kids would go to when they needed to talk.
Okay.
And so I think how I ended up in healing arts was really just a natural progression of my own gifts, my coping mechanisms, living in a world that I had a hard time fitting into, and then just my interests as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Hearing that,
Mm-hmm.
what do you feel like in that whole process, what do you feel like was that first step for you into the healing arts? Was it more the connecting with yourself, with, like you said, maybe not fitting in as much? Or do you feel like it was more of a passion when people were coming to you and you were easy to talk to and whatnot? Is it one or the other, combination?
I would probably say a combination. And, I was born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s. And so pop culture did affect me as well. So thinking that when I was a little kid is when Star Wars came out. And by the time The Return of the Jedi came out, I was fully invested in this whole Force thing. And so, like I mentioned about my fantasy world, I really felt at home with that type of a storyline. And so I played with that a lot. And just when I was, having those little kids, what little kids do when they're outside, just making up things. But I also grew up in a very charismatic church that had laying on of hands, very intense kind of healing practices. And so that all kind of came together, I think, for me when I noticed that some of the other kids would feel real comfortable talking to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you say like very charismatic, I could be completely off base here, but in my brain, the first thing that popped in was like somebody's getting bit by a snake.
So you're close. We didn't do snakes, but this was a full holiness, charismatic Pentecostal church. So the whole speaking in tongues, casting out demons, or at least saying that's what was happening. It was a very intense church experience. I'm no longer part of that church or that faith, but it did give me a sense of the ecstatic when I was a kid, and the how to feel connected to something greater than me. That I think that was something that I kept later on in life.
Nice.
Yeah.
So to bring it back to Star Wars, do you feel like that connection with that movie and the whole premise of the Force and the power behind, something bigger than us and tapping into that, very unique movie and how I'm a big Star Wars guy too. Do you feel like that was kind of your defining moment and like getting into this and really finding your love and passion for it? Was Star Wars or was?
Well, I think so. Because Star Wars came out, and of course identified with Luke Skywalker, and I say of course, but just I think a lot of little kids did. But then Karate Kid came out as well, and I grew up in a really small town at the beach, so it was like crazy busy. People from all over came there. So there was a degree of exposure and diversity, but at the same time, it was a pretty rural part of Delaware. And so in the wintertime, there wasn't a whole lot for us to do. And so I found a self-defense class at the community college, and I took what it was like a 6-week course, that they offer those self-enrichment classes. And I did it. And that, along with the Star Wars and the Karate Kid, I was sold. But, at the time, my parents just couldn't do it. So I had 6 weeks of like, yes, this is what I'm all about. And then it was just like,
So switching gears a little bit. Couple questions around Karate Kid.
yes.
All right. First question. It's gonna be a two-parter.
Okay.
First question: Karate Kid 1, 2, or 3. What was the better movie, and who was the better villain? And then secondary question: your take on Netflix's Cobra Kai.
Oh, wow. Okay. Karate Kid 2 for me was by far the one that I enjoyed the most. And for me, it was because, and I don't understand the culture well enough to say they did it right. That's not my place to say. But as a kid watching that, I felt like the roots of the martial arts, by my limited understanding, were being shared. And I always loved exploring other cultures and traditions and languages and stuff. So the second one, being in a different country and showing the roots of the story, I loved that. And the so-called villain in that story, when you were looking at the older guy that was Mr. Miyagi's nemesis, and then the younger guy, I found something relatable, and I don't know that forgivable is the right word, but there was something about each of those men, their vulnerability, their weakness, the pain or trauma that pushed them to where they ended up, that I was able to kind of acknowledge and appreciate. Whereas in the first movie, I didn't have as much of that.
Yeah,
I really didn't.
Wasn't as relatable on that.
Right.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from that. I think the dad, Mr. Miyagi's nemesis, was like, I have to be this, like, I'm this big powerful man. I have to be that, which translated down to his son.
Yeah.
And then like it was harder to me for the son to let go of it because of that. I don't want to disappoint my father thing. But it was cool at the end, and maybe I'm butchering this, to like kind of see the respect factor of that come out. I feel like that brought it back to a cultural thing.
Yeah.
And again, I can't speak on any of that, but I feel like there's always, martial arts is a high level of respect, right? Yeah. So, no, that's cool. Okay, Cobra Kai.
I saw, I think, the first season, part of this. It didn't speak to my soul so much. It was entertaining, especially to see the older actors kind of continuing on this little bit of a rivalry. It didn't really speak to that part of me on the inside that the earlier movies did.
Okay.
So I stopped watching it.
I got you.
And that's not really a diss on the series. It just wasn't my jam.
No, I feel you on that. I enjoyed it from a nostalgic moment. And I thought they did a decent job keeping the plot line going, introducing the kids and the family. The one thing, I ended up making it through like half of season 2, and I kind of just trailed off on it. Was it Johnny? Like, I get the whole character. I get he's trying to be a certain guy stuck in his past, especially in the 80s. And no offense to the actor, maybe that's what he was trying to do, but I thought the acting was so bad. Just know. I know maybe it wasn't supposed to be good, but that's what kind of just everything he said. I was like how did there's no way if he wasn't the original Sweep the Leg Johnny that he gets cast for this part,
right?
Because he's so bad at acting. That was anyway. Well, appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Karate Kid, great movie. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. Anyway, so what is it you do?
Okay.
Take us through that.
Yeah, that's a really good question.
And feel free to be as detailed, because I want people to really understand where all that passion early is taking you.
Yes. And that's a really great question. And it's one I'm still asking myself. What the hell is it that I do, really? And I'm still figuring that out. I can tell you a lot about the pieces. And I think the real thing about my work that's special is the way that I weave together a bunch of pieces that may not seem to make sense on their own. But then when they come together, it's like, oh, yeah. Like some of those really weird food combinations you would not expect to like, but you're like, feta cheese and watermelon with basil? Oh my God, it's delicious. But you never would have thought about putting those things together. In fact, you might have even turned your stomach a little thinking like, cheese and watermelon, really? But it works.
Makes a note to try feta cheese and watermelon.
Add a little bit of balsamic
With some
reduction as
balsamic.
well. Yeah. So I think when people come to see me, my therapeutic massage license is what really opens the door for most people, because at this point in time, even folks who haven't received therapeutic massage have heard of it and are aware that it's a therapeutic experience now compared to a lot of the other, perspectives on different types of massage in the past. And so a lot of times, I do get people in because they're hurting, like they've got a neck pain or their back hurts or they fell down, they hurt something, whatever it is. I think secondary to that, people come in because of stress management. Most often it's because somebody that already has seen me has told a friend, oh, you know what? Yeah, my massage therapist, you should go see him. He can help you with that. So it really is a combination of applying the therapeutic massage techniques, which are essentially manipulation of the soft tissue of the body. So that's the muscle, the connective tissue. I do move the limbs through range of motion. I don't adjust joints like what a chiropractor does. So I don't do that, but I can move the arms around. I can move the legs, move the head and neck around. And so it's really applying these various techniques to the physical body with sequence, with pressure, with the different techniques. Some are created to flush the body. Some are created to pinpoint a place in the muscle where there could be, just say, something stuck, without getting too anatomical on you there. So that's all the massage part. And massage has a mechanical aspect, and the mechanical aspect of massage is really gaining popularity because it's able to be scientifically tested and repeated, regardless of individual. So you could get 10 clients coming in, 10 massage therapists doing the exact same maneuver, and you could get similar effects as long as the people don't have varying degrees of health differences. But aside from that, that's really where I start to shine, is when we start to getting into the customization. And so I'm also looking at somebody's emotional background, their mental background, their lifestyle activities, health history, whether they broke something, whether they maybe they're a caretaker, maybe they ran away at the age of 16 and they've been working all their life and they're just tired. All these different things can really affect how somebody is in their body, how they experience and hold their tension, how they are able to find their place of safety and serenity and then release. And so I ask a lot of questions. So my sessions, my hour session is an hour hands on the table. I'm spending about 15 or 20 minutes though talking to each person, really trying to figure them out. Even if I'm doing the exact same, like let's say I'm doing a long flowing stroke down the back, my intention can be greatly different from person to person, where I'm thinking, okay, so I know the lumbar 5, I know there's an issue down there. So when I get down to that part of the back, I'm visualizing that part of the body kind of opening up or relaxing. So it's not just this physical pressure I'm doing. I'm also imagining it happening. I'm listening to their body to see, okay, are they resisting? Are they pushing back? Are they letting go and receiving? What is the body telling me? Because sometimes the body will just not like something or not be ready. Like, too much pressure too fast, most people will recoil. And I find that that's not really that productive in getting somebody to relax, as if they're pulling away from me. So
very true.
Yeah. So I have to really listen and pay attention to what's happening. And then, I'm using essential oils. I may be using herbal infused oils that are also going to affect the emotions, also affect the mind, the circulation, the blood pressure, any number of things. So that's just the massage part. Now, with the energy healing, then what I'm also doing is feeling for areas of hot or cold. And that's not just physical hot and cold. That could just be me sensing something. And as an example, when, let's say, you are let's say you're talking to a very good friend, somebody that you are mentally and emotionally, you know, fairly intimate with in the sense that you're close, and they're pissed off at you. And you know how you can feel that. It can feel hot sometimes, or it could feel cold because they're being distant. That's what I'm talking about. Like, it's not always me saying, oh yeah, the knee feels hotter than the elbow. It'd be more like the knee just kind of, something there seems a little slow or a little stuck. And that stuck could be inflammation, so it may feel hot, or it could mean a lack of circulation, which I would feel as cold. Those are the kinds of things I'm all doing in my head while I'm running my arms down somebody's back. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's like, I think about the massages that I've gotten, and you know, for the most part, all have been great. I don't know that I've ever gotten a massage where I'm like, man, I wish I didn't do that. You know, that being said, there are times where you feel, you know, just the connectivity. You may feel more connected to the experience, and you know, maybe that's because they do ask more defining questions, like, what are you really going through? Okay, how did that happen? What were you doing? Yada yada, and so on and so on. Versus, like, sometimes I feel like if you just go to a walk-in chain, like, I feel like getting a massage today, I'm gonna go see if they got a vet. It's like, hey, you're there, you go back, you don't really know who you're with, assuming they're trained, and you get like where's your problem area, and is this too firm or not firm enough, right?
Yeah.
So you're answering two questions, and then they do what they're trained to do, which, like you said, is that's a repeatable thing that there can be data behind to support results. But it sounds like you're taking that an extra step and trying to create an overall better experience that's more individualized, I guess. That's cool. I like that approach.
You know, I work for myself, and so I set up my schedule so that I have time to spend with each person. And because I'm not getting a 20% cut off of the total service, I don't have to see 5 or 6 people a day. And those kinds of numbers, those therapists just don't have that kind of time.
Yeah.
So I'm really fortunate that I am self-employed, that I can do that kind of stuff and meet people where they are in that way. I worked for one of the chains, and for a little while, I loved it. It was a really great way to meet people. But, you know, saying it is rushed. And maybe having to work in one room for one client and then run all the way to the end of the hallway to work in a different room for that client. At least my space, I've got all my stuff there, you know, and it's filled up with an energy of sustainability and consistency. And I think that makes a difference. People walk into a space, and sometimes they can also feel, you know, that energy of rushed or stressed versus something that's really calm and solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's relatable. I mean, if I walk in to a meeting 5 minutes late with my phone in my hand and there's people waiting on me there and I'm only half present, they can tell the difference.
Yeah.
Regardless of what's coming out of here.
Yeah.
So just one, being there before them.
Yeah.
So it's just like setting that more relaxed energy.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're here. We're ready to get going.
Yeah.
And being completely present in the room with them. Like it makes all the difference in the world. And I do feel like that there's an energy there. It's like, you know, again, I'm relating it back to myself here, but like the meeting where everything starts, it's a better meeting.
Yeah.
Or if I come in with my damn hair on fire, which I am a ginger, so that happens a lot. But if I come in with my hair on fire and I'm like, hold on, blah, 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 and then like the first thing somebody says back to me, I'm like, you know, we gotta, you know, it's just different. It's not as productive. It's not as fun. That person's not going, man, next time he calls a meeting, like I'm going to show up ready to go versus like, oh, that meeting went really well. I can do anyway. I'll digress there. Okay, so love the extra attention past, you know, as you define as like a more scientific approach, and then getting into how you create a different environment around that energy. Moving towards kind of the holistic health part of that, and kind of some of the way that you bring that into the experience, maybe from a coaching aspect or just advisory roles on that. Tell me more about that.
So the coaching school I went to was, my title is Holistic Health Coach. And the beautiful thing about that program is it really prepared me to take any number of paths. And I initially went to that school because I wanted to be a nutritionist. I was really, really into food preparation, the watermelon and the feta. Again, I could talk food for days. And then by the time I got done with school, I'm like, no, I'm not telling people what to eat. There's way too much to know, tests that need to be run that I can't do. And so the beautiful thing about the school is there's a term called bioindividuality, and that's essentially that while we're all created very, very similarly, each person's body is unique in that what they need to feed them could be greatly different from the next person. And so my training is to look at a person as an individual and then really see, and with my coaching, I break it up into like a pie chart, 12 different factors, and I'm looking at a whole bunch of different aspects of life. And with the person, we're finding out like, well, how much time are you really spending on, career, on spirituality, on friendship, on food, exercise, all these different things. And for most of us, we really do have a few that we are pretty good at focusing on. And then a handful where we're kind of like, yeah, okay, I could use some improvement in these areas. And so that's really the mold that I use to kind of look at a person and see mostly if there's anything that's kind of like glaringly off, because that's where we can start. That thing that's glaringly off will most likely be the thing that's contributing to an acute symptom or whatever thing it is that brought them to me. And then we can dig a little deeper over time to some of those other things.
Love that. Yeah. Now, challenge you here a little bit.
Yeah.
You mentioned that starting out as a nutritionist, or that was the path you saw yourself going on, and you quickly got away from that. Yeah. And it sounds like, hearing you already, it sounds like you really try to treat the individual, not so much the symptom. I don't know if that's the right way to say that, but to whereas like you might have 10 people with similar health issues that may be related to their diet, and it would be easy to be like, well, all 10 of you need to do this. But in your experience, it's like, well, you need to do this. That may not work for the next person, or may not be the best thing. Let's say we're looking at a pie chart and we're looking at these 12 noted items, and that first problem is identified as diet related. Okay. How do you feel like you would treat that? Obviously we know individually, but what does that look like? How do you dive into that? Is it talking about eating habits or
So that's when I do a lot of listening. As a health coach, massage therapist, energy healer, so on, I'm not allowed to treat any health condition, but what I can do is to help someone manage their wellness. So that's one of those things where, my scope of practice would not allow me to give them a diet to follow.
Okay.
So I do listen and try to see, okay, well, I know that certain foods tend to be inflammatory. So is that happening? Or what time are they eating? What's the frequency? I really try to listen, and I recommend food diaries a lot for people so they can figure out, wow, I really am eating a lot more cheese and crackers than I realized as a little snack here or there. Or they're eating right before bed a lot and then not getting a full night of sleep.
He doesn't know it, but he's called me out twice. two for two. So I'm going to pause for a second. Yeah. You mentioned inflammatory. So in your opinion or professional opinion, because that's something that I deal with every now and again on a personal note. It's like sometimes I eat and I'm just like energized, ready to go.
Yeah.
And sometimes I eat and I don't really know that I ate any differently because I'm a creature of habit. I know what I want. Like, I know my spots, what I'm going to eat. And sometimes it's like I can't move. I'll relate it back to golf. I'm a big golfer.
Okay.
Right. So I do a lot of things with my lower back to try to get ready to go play. And when I was a kid, you get to the turn, you crush a sandwich and a hot dog, a full sugared Gatorade, and then you just go to the back and keep playing. You just never know it.
Yeah.
But now it's to the point where if I'm playing a tournament or just playing a casual round, we get the halfway house. They're like, oh, you want a dog or a sandwich? I'm like, I can't eat and keep playing.
Yeah.
Because by the 12th hole, I feel like my body is just so inflamed.
Yeah.
So like, obviously knowing that there's probably a more individualized method to that, three foods that you feel like really cause inflammation.
Ooh. Well, sugar. I know that's a food part, not a food itself, but sugar for sure. And what I've seen, I think in most people would be probably sugar, dairy, and some of the grains. And I'm thinking more like, not. I know wheat is a big, at least wheat in America tends to be an inflammatory food. Those are some of the top ones, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah. But I can't test. And so I will often send my clients out to mental health therapists and functional medicine practitioners or registered dietitians to run those kinds of tests so they can find out.
So if that's something I'm struggling with, it's like I can't identify the source or the food. It just comes out of nowhere. And sometimes it's relatively crippling. Like, I'll just go lay down.
Yeah.
So a dietitian, there's like tests they can run. They could be like, hey, when you eat this, you blow up like a blimp.
Yes.
And you're miserable.
Yes. Yeah. Some of the tests are controversial between the functional medicine I guess the people on that path and allopathic medicine. That being said, there are tests that can be done to test people on allergies. Sensitivities is a lot harder though. And I think a lot of us probably have sensitivities more so than allergies. And those are the real buggers because you can have a sensitivity to something. It's not going to be obvious or crippling necessarily if you eat it once. But if you're having that food 3 to 5 times a week and it's not really like making you feel bad, but it's weakening on subtle levels, then after 3 years of doing that, all of a sudden some bigger issue pops up and nobody can put their finger on why. That's the kind of stuff that I think most of us are really dealing with. And so there are various types of elimination diets that people can do to remove a lot of the possibly inflammatory foods and then bringing one thing in at a time and then being aware of their body enough to know, like, you know what, after I ate that cornbread, I did notice my heart rate went up for a few hours, or I got the sweats, or I got real farty pants, or whatever it was. You know, they like, we can listen.
3 for 3. My wife's going to watch this and be like, the sweats and the farty pants. He tags you, bro. Yeah, we're going. That's total 5 for 5. I'm going to start. Anyway, continue. Yeah, no, that's. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's. So I interjected on the holistic health coaching.
Yeah.
I don't feel like we spent quite enough time on that. Just kind of land that plane.
Sure.
Talk more about that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so ultimately, health coaching, the way that I approach it is listening to what the person is really wanting in terms of an outcome, seeing what I am professionally and legally able to help them with. And then the thing about coaching compared to like a dietitian or a mental health therapist is that we do a lot of listening and people will often tell on themselves. And we're the ones that can catch that and offer it back to them. Say, oh, okay, so I just heard you say blah, blah, blah. And the person will often be like, yeah, I know. And so there's that. But then because I do have a degree of knowledge about different types of foods, exercise practices, meditation practices, things like that, what kinds of red flags to look out for with mental health, things like that, that I'm really looking at a whole slurry of things and then offering information, offering suggestions for things the person can try. And then, like I said about referring to doctors, if it's food related, I won't just say you need to start eating kale every day, because kale is not the answer. Kale can actually upset some people. It can be too much all at once. And so it's not just about, okay, I'm only eating kale, I'm only doing plants, I'm drinking like 5 gallons of water a day, and, I have a squatty potty now, like all the things. And that's not necessarily
5 for 6. We missed one. I do not have a squatty potty. I want one, but I don't have one.
Yes.
All right. Sorry. Keep going.
I will say from personal experience, yoga blocks work very well if you don't have a squatty potty. You can just put your feet up on the yoga blocks.
I think I have some. I do have yoga blocks.
They are really better served in a different room doing yoga, but I'm telling on myself right now, I haven't done my yoga practice in a little bit, and they have moved to the bathroom. So
I cannot wait for my wife, because I'm a door open kind of guy in my bedroom. I cannot TMI. I know I cannot wait for my wife to come home and just look at me and be like, "Are you propping your feet on yoga blocks right now?"
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I am. Take it in. No, that's awesome. So on that note, holistic health, I think the average person, when they hear holistic health, they think like non-traditional, or, you're not going to a doctor. So say anxiety, like, I have anxiety. You go to the doctor, like, okay, we got a pill for that. Right.
Yeah.
Tell me your thoughts around that notion. Do you feel like there's a time and a place for the medicated side of that? Do you think it pairs well with what you're doing, or do you truly believe that should be a last resort, and or if it's a resort at all, as far as just like a medication?
So I want to lead into this with the fact that I'm going to take the whole capitalism piece out of the conversation, because I could go in a rabbit hole about the pharmaceutical industry and the way the medical system is set up. And that's not your question, so I'm just going to kind of put that over here for now. I do believe that and so when I refer to allopathic medicine, that's what we think of as like Western medicine. I think that has a place in holistic care. It's just not centered. Some people, for instance, I take a pharmaceutical medicine every single day. And I do all this other stuff as well, just because that's my life experience, that's my health condition, So I think a lot of people will need to lean into that allopathic medicine while also looking at all the other things. And holistic really doesn't mean that we're only like eating dirt and bathing in the creek and doing that kind of stuff. Like, it's really looking at the whole picture. And our world is not natural anymore. The stresses we have now are not, dragging the meat back to the cave and fighting off the bears while we're doing it. We're more like, how long can I stand looking at this computer screen before my eyes start hurting or my back and my butt start hurting from this chair? We have different stressors. And so we have to have different remedies and medicines now. And some of that is going to be made in a lab and measured by very, typical numbers-based science stuff. But that's just one piece of the puzzle. The whole mental and emotional piece is what we're not getting a lot of times at a regular doctor's office. And the accessibility for a lot of people in getting mental health care, emotional health care, it's just not part of the picture. And so a lot of that stuff really goes untreated and unchecked. While I can't treat anybody for mental health issue or emotional health issues, I'm a really good listener and a space holder. And taking the treatment and the therapy part out of that, a lot of people just need a place to be seen and heard. And just knowing that somebody has a mental health issue or some emotional trauma helps me to know, okay, so I need to approach such and such subject with a little bit more sensitivity with this person. Or I know I can't throw too much information at this person because they'll get the first thing and then the rest is just going to go over their head and they're going to walk away with nothing. And that's not doing anybody any good.
Certainly.
Yeah. So that's really what I mean by holistic is looking at the person from all kinds of different angles. And based on a lot of, and this goes back to several different traditions and cultures, looking at the body as elements like earth, air, fire, and water, spirit, seeing the parts that make up the person and where those things can again be in excess or deficiency, that allows me to kind of fill in the gaps or approach each person a little differently.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking my assumption around that. And maybe I'm alone in that, but I feel like as a whole, when people hear that and truly defining it, because to me, in my life, I've heard holistic sometimes. And like you said, it's like, we're not all over here eating dirt. Like that's, oh man, versus like a traditional doctor in medicine. So to kind of hear it explained that way, it's like, oh, well that makes sense. That's not a bad way to approach anything in life. Just looking at the whole picture and actually just listening.
Yeah.
And maybe not always having like you said, if I was giving a medical advice, like you should do this, it's not so much about you should do this. It's just having a place where somebody can feel comfortable to just get those things out, and regardless of what that is across the board. So I like that. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Did that answer your question?
It did. Yeah, no, that was perfect. Thank you for that. So bringing in another key to something you shared in your bio, I'm going to butcher these words. So I'm going to go with Tantra,
Tantra, yeah.
And yoga, and I'll let you fill in the other words that I couldn't pronounce.
Yes. Okay. So back in the mid-90s, I started studying with a world-known teacher in Tantra Kriya Yoga, which is one particular path of Tantra. Now, the word Tantra is very widely used, very misunderstood, and it can have any number of meanings within different practices. And so for me, it was all about the elevation of the Kundalini through let me explain how my teacher taught me. The expansion of consciousness through the liberation of Kundalini energy. So the Kundalini energy is that energy that in that system is what rises up the spine from the tailbone up to the head. And it ultimately is the bridge of the physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual. And Kundalini is an energy, but it is likened to a serpent that rises up the spine. And if you've ever had one of those moments where like you get scared and you feel that shiver going up the spine, that's a very similar energy as this. Or if you're in an ecstatic kind of space and you get that shiver, it's all really relative and it's all really an energy. The tradition that I was trained in, Babaji's Tantra Kriya Yoga, is allegedly very, very old. The root teacher of that tradition, this is where it's going to sound really, really woo-woo, but I'm just going to tell you anyway.
We're here for it.
Yeah. He allegedly never died. He just kind of transformed his body into light and will still appear to his disciples. I've never seen him, but my teacher did have an experience, but he didn't see him. He felt him. And so, like many spiritual traditions, there are a lot of kind of miraculous, magical things that can sometimes happen. And that particular path for me was really my beginnings of learning about energy cultivation, especially in terms of yin and yang. Now, that particular tradition came out of India. My teacher, because he was half Indian, he was able to get access to temples that regular Americans weren't allowed into. And from there, he was given access to temples in China, Nepal, and Egypt. And he really created a system of all four of those places, pulling together some of the best things he found. And some folks would say he was cherry picking. And in a sense, he was, but he was also still paying honor and respect to the traditions that these things came from. And each of his teachers, they were giving him the mission to bring these teachings to the West, to the Americans that really needed it. Because we didn't really have, unless people were indigenous to America, those of us coming over here lost a lot of our connection to our roots. And that included roots in spirituality, land stewardship, community, things like that. And so that particular Tantra Kriya Yoga has a lot to do with breath work, some pretty intensive physical exercises, and mental things that it's like the rug getting pulled out from under your feet. When you start a new spiritual practice, sometimes life provides lessons. And boy, did it provide those lessons for me. It really did. And so that's really what Tantra Kriya Yoga is, the way I learned it, was breath, movement, meditation, stillness, and then being prepared for a whole life to throw you some wild cards and have it figure your way through it.
Okay.
It's also really helpful in physical longevity. What a lot of people think about Tantra is sex, because there are these practices that are applied to making lovemaking last longer, feel more intense, build the bonds between the people. And that's all true too. But ultimately, all those things are to really help the person to feel more embodied and to help them bring their spirit into the body so that the physical life is a lot more happy, healthy, creative.
I'm kind of taking that all in.
Yeah.
I've done yoga, and I've experienced when you really can get into, I struggle with the breath work.
Okay.
And I think that's just some of the positionary things, having a little bit of a larger belly and getting into a tight spot. And I'm really trying to focus on the breath, but it's like this thing just doesn't want to cooperate. I've always struggled with, but the times that I've been able to like get rid of all the distraction in the room and really at least not even like fully, I get embody could be a word for that, not even fully do it, but just like half get into the breath work of it. And it's just like regular yoga. Like I think the first yoga I did was on a P90X DVD somewhere. But somebody with a bad lower back, a lot of golf in my life, and it's just some early signs of arthritic pain there, some disc narrowing and whatnot. Like it's still to this day, a solid regimen of yoga has been the best thing that I've just for day to day. It's still there. I still wake up and I'm like, all right, it's a little stiff. And I accept that that's probably going to kind of be how it is. But, obviously losing a little bit of weight takes some stress off of that. But in the meantime, just I don't know if it's so much, I can equate it to the physical side of it. But I do know in the moment that breath work and just like, for me, when I'm used to, like you said, 20 different things coming to me at all times. And it's like, I need to have that conversation. I got these 3 texts to respond to. I've got these 4 emails waiting on me. Thomas is like, yelling at me about podcasts, and I'm kidding. He doesn't yell at me. And you got all that life coming at you, things that you need to do to be a responsible family, dad, husband. And it's like, man, you get in that moment, even if it's just like for 30 minutes, you just cut all that shit off. Yeah. It's peaceful.
Yeah.
I should do more of that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, because I think, and this was again, kind of around the holistic word, shedding some truth around that, as opposed to maybe some preconceived. When I hear tantric, or that's like how my brain would associate it, or the correct as I'm trying to say correct pronunciation, I can't pronunciate it. I think people equate that to like sex, and then they're like, oh, there goes Sting again.
Right.
And it's like, and it, like you said, sometimes it feels kind of woo-woo-y, and I think that can turn the general population off from it. So it's really cool to kind of hear that different mentality around it. And you mentioned, when we were kind of speaking on that, you mentioned embodiment.
Yeah.
So let's spend a little bit of time on that, kind of the power of that and the accountability around that.
Okay. So we live.
Let me rephrase the back half of that question. Yeah. In terms of accountability, how do you use that embodiment towards the healing, like in the accountability around the healing? And whatnot? Yeah.
So I think there's a really big disconnect with us people in general and our bodies, especially in the industrialized nations, especially I've never been outside of the US except for Canada, loved it. But, things are different here than maybe somewhere that could be more remote, we'll say. And so when you think about, what is that? The mind-body connection, we hear that used a lot. Well, if you look at that on a physical level, where do we associate the mind being? Like up here in the noggin, and the body here. As a massage therapist, just about everybody that gets on my table has neck pain. And so where does the body and the mind meet physically? at the neck. And how often do we truly express our truth verbally? Or, there are a lot of people running their mouth. I'm one of those people. But I do see a lot of people that are really not embodied, not so fully in themselves enough that they can speak their truth because they're still figuring out what their truth is. And that could be a lifelong process for many. The whole thing about embodiment is getting us back in our bodies and not trying to escape them. And I tell you, all over religion, we are told that the promise, the whole goal is getting out of this, getting out of here, and going to this great promised place beyond or wherever. And that's where the good stuff is. Even some of the religions that don't maybe seem so controlling are often still about this isn't real. The whole point is to move beyond this, get away from desire and attachment. And there is a degree of truth to all that, but embodiment is really getting us into these bodies because that's what we know we have. We can literally touch these things. We know what we're feeling. Feeling not just emotionally, but the sensations that we're having, like, an ache in the elbow. Somebody may say, yeah, that's not really real. That's just that's an attachment or, whatever. It hurts. I can't focus on non-attachment when my elbow is hurting me. That's just me, but I have a really hard time with that. Mm-hmm. And so if we ignore what people are experiencing in their bodies, I think we're doing everybody a disservice. So my goal is to really say, okay, well, you know what? These bodies, as amazing as they are, as flawed as they are, they're really good at telling us stuff. They're really good telling us when we're tired, when we're hungry, when we are over it, when we haven't had enough, all these things. And so the way that I work with it is embodiment practices are really about listening to the body, taking those cues, and then using those cues to, move on to the next step. And sometimes that is a matter of addressing a problem. Sometimes it's a matter of just listening to the body. Sometimes it's like, oh, okay, there's that emotion again that I have been feeling ever since I was 5. And that's one of those times I'm like, okay, well, what is that emotion? And I'll take a person into that emotion, and then I'll see, oh, this is a therapy question. And I'll say, okay, that's a great thing to talk about with your therapist. So we will reel it in with a coaching or healing arts session and do something more like, let's just acknowledge what you're feeling. You're not wrong for having that feeling, and let's send a lot of love there, or cooling energy or warming energy or whatever is needed. That embodiment gets us to listen and to really dig into this instead of bypassing it, making it go away. And I will say that when I was first training back in my late teens, early 20s, I was really, really good at making the bad stuff go away. I'm like, oh, I'm having this uncomfortable thought. That's not love. And one of the things I would say was, fear, I hear you, but I choose love. And I would just push it away. And I'm at the point now where I don't think that was the best idea. Rather, I'd say, fear, what are you trying to tell me? And listen to that fear. And then see, okay, is there an accountability piece in this? Am I buying into this? Am I adding to it with behaviors, with patterns, with substances, foods that I'm eating, whatever it is. And that's where the accountability piece comes in with the embodiment is we have to hold ourselves accountable for what we're doing with that information. Are we ignoring it? Are we trying to quiet it? I had a really large chocolate chip cookie before I came here. After I had biscuits and gravy and hash browns, and that's not my typical breakfast. It was a damn good chocolate chip cookie.
7 for 8. I love some biscuits and gravy.
Yeah. And that's more of the rare thing. I had breakfast with a friend. I had a great time. We talked. It was delicious. And now I'm like, but I'll be okay.
You're doing fine.
I'll be like, I'll do a little bit, a light walk inside the house. It's too hot for me to walk outside today. But that's the accountability piece, is also not judging ourselves for having these pleasures. It's just, is that biscuits and gravy a thing that happens once, or is it an everyday thing? And my body doesn't like biscuits and gravy every day. It's not good for me. Somebody else, it may be exactly what their body needs. So this is no diss on the biscuits and gravy crowd.
I was going to say, where'd you get the biscuits and gravy from?
It's a, I don't even know what the place is called. It's a little diner up on Spring Garden.
Bagners?
Yes.
We call it Bangers and Mash.
Okay.
So my buddy Raph loves that place.
Okay.
So we always get mixed up. My dyslexia takes over. And so we call it Bangers and Mash. And it got voted like #1 restaurant and breakfast. Like, it's really good.
It is really good. Yeah.
Yeah. We go for breakfast. He gets the tacos.
Okay.
Oh, well, you know. But their food's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good spot.
It was really good. I was going to get the chicken and waffles. And then I saw the biscuits and gravy. I'm like, oh, I can make chicken and waffles. I'm not good at making gravies. Not that kind of gravy. So, yeah.
I just feel like when I'm making breakfast food, I don't really feel like making the gravy. It's like with eggs. All right, I'm going to cook some eggs.
Yeah.
It takes me, 2 minutes, get my egg, put a little piece of toast or something.
Yep.
Anyway. Okay, so two things I'd like to do here. Number one, somebody's watching, enjoying, hearing. How can they find you? How can they set up a session?
Okay.
And then after that, we talked about doing a little mini sesh.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that work for you? And then we'll wrap and go about our days. Perfect. You can go take your walk, and I might go have some biscuits and gravy. Okay, so where can we find you? How can we set up a session?
Okay, so my website is phoenixalchemicalarts.com.
Okay.
So that's PHOENIXALCHEMICALARTS.com. It's kind of long, and sometimes I'm like, why did I pick that as my business name? But alchemical has a meaning, and in the old days, it was when the scientists were able to take something like iron and turn it into gold.
Okay.
My goal is to take the raw parts of ourselves and to elevate them to that gold-like substance, like what we would call light. So it's taking all the nitty-gritty of ourselves, weaving it together, and making it into something where the sum is greater than the parts.
Okay.
So PhoenixAlchemicalArts.com is my website. I have a business Facebook page as well. Again, Phoenix Alchemical Arts. You can go on there. I do have some videos that are there for people that want to see a little bit more of me running my mouth and seeing what I have to say. So,
I was going to say, do you have a strong social media presence?
I'm not super into social media, and that's something that I am also really slowly leaning more into. Because that's kind of the way of the world these days. Mm-hmm. So I struggle with that, with, doing those things because, I love to run my mouth, but I don't like being glued in that world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will probably have more things on there for people to see. And it's a really great way that I've been able to do a little bit of community service for people outside of the local area where, people like my meditation. So I've got friends, all over the country that they'll watch my lives just for a qigong that I'll do, or a yoga piece, or a meditation, or a visualization. And it's like, it's one way to be able to offer people something that either don't have access to me, they can't get to me, they can't afford me, or they don't, whatever it is.
I agree with you. I think we definitely, myself included, we'll go ahead and say 8 for 9, are glued to our phones now. And, again, in my industry, it's like you almost have to be a digital creator. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to take your brand, and it's no longer just about that referral, that word of mouth. Like, you have to have a brand in your industry, and the people that like that brand are who going to associate with you, and you tell your story and all the storytelling that goes into social media now. And so it's like, to me, it's a necessary evil, and I've just kind of had to convince myself to dive in and have on some levels. Could always be better at it. But yeah, it's tough. Just like I sometimes don't like the sound of my voice, but also it's just all consuming.
It's all consuming, and it's such an allure and a glamour that's being made. And when I mean glamour, it's like a mirage where, I see content creators that have all kinds of followers and their pictures are beautiful and their little, their healing setup or their altars or the spell that they did. I'm like, wow. But in real time, I will post a picture of all the laundry that's piling up that I have to do. Or like, I have to sanitize the whole room after somebody cried their eyes out and touched everything. That's the stuff you don't see on social media.
Yeah.
Is like the snot prints everywhere. And I don't mind doing it. That's part of my work. But that's not the stuff that you see on social media. Like, you see more the person with, perfectly dewy skin that just walked out of the massage, not their skin is like red and like rashy and hot because they've just been crying their eyes out, but they feel really good about what just happened. That's the stuff you don't see. And it's not really that well received on social media either.
I was going to say, it's like, it's one thing to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
But then when you've got people that are coming to you, you've hit on this several times. Like one of your, what I would say strengths that is like, I give people a safe space. Mm-hmm. Well, how safe is my space if next thing they know they're a social media ad for me essentially, and they're like, man, I had a really good session. Didn't want the rest of the world to see, my red puffy face with snot on my shirt. Right? Right. Anyway, cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. And when you're on those, like if you're on the website, you can book online. Yeah. Call you directly, and then
there's my email address is there, my phone number is there, so people can call or text. They can book an appointment online. I am ironing out some kinks right now with my software. So if anybody tries to do that and it's not working, just send me a text or an email and I'll fix it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's do this.
Okay, perfect. Where would you like to sit?
It is your world, sir.
Well, I can, if you're okay there, I can just wheel around you and stand behind you if you're comfortable with that.
I'm comfy with that.
Okay. So we'll just do a very brief Reiki, kind of a glow up, we'll say here. Okay. So you may feel my hands, I'll touch you on your shoulders, and then I'm going to hover.
That's fine.
And what I want you to do is just focus on your breathing and put your awareness on your top of your head, and then breathe down the top of your head into your neck, relaxing as you breathe, imagining that your neck and your shoulders are beginning to soften. Breathing down into your upper back, your mid back and lower back. Each exhale helping you relax a little easier, a little more. Just imagine that you're surrounded with a really beautiful golden white light. Drawing that light from the outside in. Breathing in, until you feel that light settling in your spine in the center of all your bones, so that your skeleton is glowing. You feel solid and centered in who you are. You can acknowledge who you really are. Any perceived fears, just set them to the side. Any worries, any concerns, you can acknowledge them and just set them to the side for now. And simply honor the inhale and the exhale. Letting your body come into a state of balance between the warm and the cool, the tight and the loose, the dry and the wet. Just giving yourself this moment to simply rest, to simply let go, to simply be present with yourself exactly as you are. And now coming out of the space, I want you to breathe into your feet. Imagining the solidness of the earth, breathing up the feet into the legs, into the knees, into the thighs. Feeling alert, feeling awake, feeling centered. Breathing up into the hips, your low back, mid back, upper back. Feeling more alert, more awake, more centered. Breathing down the arms, up your neck, and out the top of your head. Your whole body now feeling centered, feeling alert, feeling awake, feeling at peace and in harmony with who you are on the inside, so you can better flow with the world around you as you step away from here. Feeling brighter, feeling more centered, feeling more yourself. Just a very mini example of what an energy session would be like.
It's time to take a peaceful nap.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
That's relaxing.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Yeah. Look at that.
Perfect timing.
Look at that. Crush the timing. Yeah, no, I appreciate you doing that. Are we still shooting, by the way? I hope we are. Yeah. Even for just a slight moment, I think for me, if I was to try to do that in my own space, it would be very easy for me to, okay, I'm talking to myself, and as I'm doing that, it's like, oh shit, what did I forget to do this morning?
Right.
And by having you behind me, just kind of not, the constant just encouragement, you didn't allow me to, like, you know what I mean? And it was like, it was funny when you're like, now breathe through your legs. I was like, holy shit, I can feel that in my feet. It's like, that makes... anyway, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, he's behind me now, but Phoenix, y'all give him a gander, set up a session. Really cool guy. Really enjoyed my time with him today. And thank you for being here.
Thanks.
Episode 21, Behind the Gate. Episode 22 is coming up soon. Got that lined up, so hopefully you guys check in. I probably waited way too long to say this, but if you get a chance to like and subscribe and comment, definitely helps us out a little bit. We appreciate that. Y'all have a good afternoon.